All right, we're still letting people into our room. We're going to get started in just a moment. Thank you all so much for your patience as we let a lot of people into our look ahead to fall 2021. We've got a few more people coming in. We're going to get started right away only because we have a packed schedule to get to, and I'm sure we're going to have more people join us as the session goes forward. All right, everyone is muted right now, just so you're aware. We will give you an opportunity as the session goes on to ask questions, but we did just have it set to get everybody muted on entry just so we could stay on track and keep going to get you all the information that we wanted to share with you today. But to keep on schedule, I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name is Stephanie Levinson. I'm Vice President for Enrollment Management at John Carroll. I have spent my entire professional career in college admissions. I grew up in Central Illinois. I was a first-generation college student. I earned my bachelor's degree in sociology from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. And right after graduation, I moved north and attended Loyola University Chicago, where I earned my master's degree in college student personnel. And upon graduation, I started my career in admissions at Loyola. And for 21 years, I worked in college admissions in the Chicago area, both at Loyola and another small school in the western suburbs. And in 2018, I got to return to my Jesuit roots and join the John Carroll family. And I'm very happy to be here with you today. I have twin boys who are in 4th grade. I have a daughter who's a sophomore in high school. And like many of you, I have spent the last 11 months living in a very disrupted life. And like you, I am looking forward to a return to a little bit of normalcy. And we hope to provide some of that optimism with you here today. Part of what we hope to do in our session with you today is give you an opportunity to hear how we can give you some information as you help your students navigate their college decision-making process. And we know one of those critical pieces will be learning more about what John Carroll's plans are for the fall 2021 semester, what that year will look like. We also want to provide some information to you about what the perspective is about being a John Carroll parent of John Carroll students. And so we have quite a few John Carroll parents here with us today. You know, the next chapter of your student's life is one that we think will be filled with a lot of opportunities, and we hope that that next chapter will be written at John Carroll. And we'd like to focus on a lot of positive things here in the last half of our session. But we're going to get started with that look ahead to fall 2021. And we have no better person here to help us with that than Dr. Sherry Crayon. And I want to introduce her right now. Dr. Crayon currently serves as the interim Vice Provost of Student Affairs and Dean of Students at John Carroll. She has worked at John Carroll for the past 17 years and focuses her work on the student experience. She has a doctorate in higher education from the University of Minnesota, a master's degree in counseling from Penn State University, and her undergraduate degree in psychology from the University of Wisconsin at Stevens Point. Sherry currently serves as co-chair of the COVID-19 task force, which keeps her very busy. She is also responsible for coordinating the work of the Student Affairs Division, which includes staff who work in the Office of Residence Life, the Office of Student Engagement, the Student Health and Wellness Center, University Counseling Center, and the Police Department. Some of Sherry's most memorable experiences at John Carroll have been the opportunities she's had to accompany students on immersion trips and retreats. And let me share some fun facts with you about Sherry. She is part of what we call a John Carroll couple. Sherry moved to Cleveland in 2004. to take the job at John Carroll as Dean of Students. Shortly upon her arrival, she met Mike Roeder, a longtime John Carroll employee who works in the Auxiliary Services Department. Sherry and Mike are living proof that eternally single people eventually find each other. And this June, they're going to celebrate their 15-year wedding anniversary. So let's start that off with some optimism. So Sherry, I'm gonna let you take it away. While you get started, I'm gonna bring up your slides, okay?
Great. Thanks so much, Stephanie. And I also just want to offer my words of welcome and thank you all for being here this afternoon. It's really just such a privilege and an honor to spend a few minutes with you talking about your students' experience. And I recognize that some of you and your students are still thinking about, is John Carroll the place for you? So I'll spend a few minutes with you this afternoon, but then we have the opportunity to hear from parents of our current students. So Stephanie, if you want to go to the next slide. So as we think about what will fall semester look like, we are planning for a robust in-person student experience, both inside and outside of the classroom. So as you know, or as you probably know, our first and second year students live on campus. We have a residential experience. We have a 2-year residency requirement. This spring, we have students in single rooms and double rooms. But we're excited for that residential experience. And we really think it's an important part of what we offer as part of a John Carroll education. This spring semester, we are doing, all of our varsity athletes are having the opportunity to compete this spring in a condensed format. We did not have athletics in the fall, but all of our sports are competing in the spring. And we certainly expect, that by the fall, our whole athletic program will be back in full swing with our typical season. We also anticipate that for the fall, we will continue to have in-person campus activities. Obviously, John Carroll, like all colleges and universities, will continue to follow the guidelines from the state of Ohio and/or the CDC. But we expect, as the vaccine continues to get rolled out, that we will just keep expanding our in-person campus activities, and we're excited about that. So next slide. So let's think just for a minute about the COVID-19 safety precautions. So these are precautions that we have in place right now, and we do expect that we will have these same precautions in place for the fall. We are guessing that people will continue to wear masks while they're in the classroom. We will keep up the enhanced cleaning program that we initiated back when the pandemic began. The physical distancing, again, this is just our best guess about what we might anticipate as we think about the summer and the fall. Certainly, as the guidance changes, we will change and adjust our own expectations, but we do think there's probably going to be some degree of physical or social distancing that we might anticipate. Surveillance testing, just as a point of information, this spring semester, we are conducting weekly surveillance testing with a percentage of our students and employees. We are conducting surveillance testing as well with our student athletes following the NCAA guidelines. So student athletes are getting tested quite a bit. If our incoming students and our returning students are vaccinated, certainly we would not need to continue the ongoing surveillance testing. But again, it's a little hard to anticipate what the rollout is going to be for the vaccine and whether everybody will have the opportunity to get vaccinated by the end of August. We certainly strongly recommend that people get vaccinated. And again, we are just counting on the availability of the vaccine for everyone. So next slide. So campus life, just to give you a sample of the opportunities that we've been able to provide this spring semester. Our campus ministry department, they have been able to provide in-person retreats over in Parma at the Jesuit Retreat Center. Again, we are following all of the guidelines, the CDC guidelines for appropriate physical distancing. They did an 8-day silent retreat the week before classes started in January, which was very successful. They have a couple of first-year retreats coming up this semester. And to be honest, they have more demand than they have capacity because the Jesuit Retreat Center is booked. But we're excited for the in-person opportunities we've been able to provide. Our masses are in person, but we are also live streaming masses. And we also have the opportunity for students to participate in Carol Faith communities. With our recreation department, our fitness center is open. Students do need to go online and set up a time to go to the fitness center, but that seems to be working out very well. Students are very appreciative that the fitness center is open. We are just beginning to offer fitness classes for our students, and we'll use the space that we have in the intramural gym, one half of the gym. And just this past Monday, we started offering a drop-by, pick-up basketball if students want to go into the gym and just sort of shoot around, which is very popular among some of our students. Everybody's wearing a mask when they're in the fitness center or the gym or fitness classes. We are using an app. We are doing temperature checks. So we've put all those safety protocols in place. Within our residence halls, the RAs are involved in facilitating some what we call in-person programming when they can do so safely. I know this past week, one of the residence halls did a building-wide program with a Mardi Gras theme, and they had very good participation from the students in the building. Another program, Kyle Odell is on this call. He's our senior director of the Office of Student Engagement. He and his staff are offering a program this spring on Friday afternoons called First Year Fridays. So it's just for first year students, and it's an opportunity for them to come together. And starting next weekend, we will be offering a weekend bus shuttle to some of the shopping districts that are in the John Carroll neighborhood. Because again, we want to provide the opportunity for our students, if they want to get off campus, to walk around Legacy Village, which is a couple of miles away from here. We certainly want to give them that opportunity. And next slide. And additional activities for our spring semester. GUTS, which is an interesting name, I know. GUTS is a late night program that is sponsored by our recreation department. It's a competitive event. Students put together a team of 4 people. There are physical and mental challenges. This is actually all organized by students who work in our recreation department. And for those students, this has been a tradition probably for the last 5 or 6 years. And students just love this kind of a competitive event. They've been able to adapt it to make sure that it meets all the appropriate guidelines for physical distancing. Another event coming up a week from now is called Streak the Center. So we're talking about our student center. This event is sponsored by our Student Union Programming Board. This will include laser tag, food trucks, trivia night, and assorted prizes for students who are participating in that. The same programming board is going to sponsor a mini golf in collaboration with our recreation department. They're also offering a paint and sip mocktails activity. Note mocktails, not cocktails. That's going to be held in one of our large conference rooms in our student center. And again, it's a space that we've set up to meet the appropriate guidelines as far as social distancing is concerned. And I already mentioned First Year Fridays, just a fun opportunity on Friday afternoons for our first year students to come together. So that's just a snapshot of what campus life, what's happening on campus this spring, what we're thinking about for the fall, as we are excited to I'd like to say we're moving away from the pandemic, but we're trying, obviously we will follow state guidelines, but we're very excited to quote, sort of return more to normal as we can get. So at this point, I believe that Stephanie will moderate and we will open it up for a Q&A.
So there are a couple questions already in the chat, so I'm happy for those parents that are taking advantage of that. So one of the questions was regarding students and the vaccine, and is it going to be required, particularly because it's not very widely studied, and on how that may affect, future fertility for the students. So I don't know who would like to take that as far as, do we have anything in place with requirements for student vaccine?
Melissa, I can take that question. At this point in time, we have not mandated the vaccine. And one of the reasons we have not done that is because right now the vaccine is under emergency authorization only. It has not gotten final FDA approval. So we would not mandate any vaccine until it had final FDA approval. So at this point in time, we are strongly encouraging people to get the vaccine. But as of today, we are not mandating it.
Okay. Are there diversity, multicultural opportunities for our students on campus?
Oh, there certainly are. The Center for Student Diversity and Inclusion offers many, many different opportunities. And I would like to say that some of those opportunities come through our cultural student organizations, which have been pretty popular at John Carroll, and we have a number of students engaged and involved. For example, Black Students in Action, the LASA organization. So that's one way for students to get engaged. Some of the education that happens to help our students understand and be, we want John Carroll to be an inclusive and welcoming environment. So some of those conversations take place in the classroom with our faculty. And we're excited about that. And in fact, there was just an opportunity for faculty to come together to really talk about how to have those conversations, when there's events happening in our society that are difficult and controversial, how do you facilitate a conversation in the classroom? So those are just a couple of examples.
We've got a lot of questions that are starting in the chat, and we're not going to be able to address all of them right away. Part of what Melissa, who's an assistant director of enrollment, is going to help with is maybe answer some of those questions as we're hearing from the parents. But I do want to point one question to Dr. Stephen Herbert, who is our provost, and it's a question about how courses are planning to be taught in the fall in terms of in-person, online, face-to-face, et cetera. So I'll let Dr. Herbert take that question.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'd like to add my welcome to everybody here. Thanks for being with us this afternoon. It's great that you're with us. One of the things that we've learned this past year, really, is flexibility. So I think that's the watchword for us. We have to be flexible. That said, what we've learned throughout this semester is how to be flexible in our instruction. So that will stay. With all that said, given where we expect vaccinations and the level of pandemic in the community, we expect to be on campus in the fall. We expect a robust experience. We expect in-person instruction. Now, would it look exactly like it was pre-pandemic? Probably not, but it'll look as close to that as we can get it. And there will be in-person instruction in the classroom. Students will be in the classroom. Difficult to say how dense we can have the classrooms at this point, but we'll have as many students in the classroom as you can. We now have the capacity, and our faculty have done a lot of work to be able to make use of the technology that we have effectively. We're going to continue to do that, and we actually can accommodate students who wish to be remote. I don't expect that to be as large a number it is this semester or would have been in the fall. So bottom line, we expect in-person instruction in the fall. We expect as close to the normal experience as we can get.
And Steve, just a quick follow-up. Could you just talk briefly about any accommodations that might need to be made if a student would need to have a virtual experience, what our plans might look like for those types of exceptions?
We have, so in effect, we've been dealing with that now. We have approximately 40% of our students who are remote, fully remote now. And so many of those classes are synchronous and remote. A few of them, a very small percentage, are fully remote, fully online and asynchronous. So students are already joining us that way. So we have students that are in the classroom with us, and some of the students are on Zoom. So we have technology in the classroom to be able to follow the students that are in the classroom, stream it to Zoom, see the students that are on Zoom in the classroom, and interact between the two. Faculty are actually navigating that now. So can we continue that with the bulk of the people in the classroom and a few students that are remote? Yes. We already have those accommodations. The challenge is if we have a large enough percentage, we have to make that available for other classrooms, we may have to navigate that. So likely what we're going to do is we're going to ask students to identify if they need to be remote, and then we will make accommodations as necessary, something we're actually pretty adept at right now.
Thank you. In the essence of time, and because we've got great panelists here, from parents of current John Carroll students, I definitely want to make sure that we get a chance to have them speak with you, because what they can share with you is their real lived experiences. And so I want to pivot and have them introduce themselves so that you all can ask them questions, and Melissa will continue to answer some questions in the chat. I will also share with you that all the sessions that we had today will be posted back to the celebration website probably within the next week or so. And we will email everyone to let you know that those sessions are available. There was a session specific to Residence Life where I'm sure Lisa Brown Cornelius, who's our Senior Director of Residence Life, I'm sure she's going to address a lot of the questions that are coming up in the chat. That being said, we'll try to address as many of them in the chat that we can. But I'm going to turn it over and get our panelists to introduce themselves. These are all wonderful ambassadors for John Carroll who are going to share their children's experiences at John Carroll. I'm going to start off with Dr. Kyle Odell, who's got many hats he's wearing today, and let him kick off and just introduce yourself and your son and get things going, and we'll move on to the other parents before we start taking questions. Kyle?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kyle Odell. I have a son who is a freshman at John Carroll, who is actually a commuter student, so I could speak to that if any of you have questions about it. In full disclosure, I also work in our Office of Student Engagement, and if students do anything leadership related, I usually coordinate those efforts as well, and welcome.
Thank you. We also have with us Arthur Taylor from Michigan. Arthur?
There we go. Hello, how are you? My name is Arthur Taylor, and I have a daughter who's a sophomore, and she's also an RA this year. We are from Southfield, Michigan, which is outside of Detroit. And so if you have any questions in regards to how does that work as far as, driving, through the state and so forth, I can answer that. We are very satisfied and very happy with John Carroll.
Thank you. I'm going to next ask Steve and Mary Beth Turpak to introduce themselves, who have lots of experience at John Carroll.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Turpak, and I'm a 1991 graduate of John Carroll. And I was in elementary education, so I've been teaching for the past 26 years. And we've had 3 children go to John Carroll. One is presently there, she's a sophomore, Molly, and 2 daughters graduate from there. Maria, our oldest, is in class of 2019. She was in Kappa Delta sorority, very involved in the Carroll faith community, worked on campus. She's a marketing major in supply chain, and she's currently working for Olympic Forest Products in Cleveland.
And I'm Steve Turpak. I'm also a graduate of 1991. I'm a funeral director in a family business here in the Cleveland area. Our second daughter, Claire, just graduated this past year, 2020. And she's works for Symptomer Corporation as an HR plant specialist. She was really involved in the Greek life there, the Rupe program, and the tour guide, and also worked in the Dean of Students office.
And Molly's a sophomore, and she is in Chi Omega sorority as well, and she's in the honors program, and she's working as a peer health advocate this year and a tour guide. And she's currently thinking of majoring in bio and then psychology as well, and also an interest in public health.
Thank you. And representing the West Coast, we have Mitch and Tammy Zach all the way from Sacramento, California.
Hi, good afternoon / good morning, everybody. We're chasing you today, but thrilled to be here. Our son Deuce made his decision to go to John Carroll because of the weather, primarily in Cleveland as opposed to California. But in all seriousness, we're kind of the newbie parents. We remember being part of this meeting last year at this time as Deuce was making his decision, and he just got on campus. He was a virtual student, obviously, in the fall, and got onto campus in the spring. It's been a wonderful experience for him so far. We don't really call it a college, we call it a community that he's gotten himself into. And the one thing we're most grateful for, obviously being as far away from him as we are at this point, is that what you really have is a community of instructors, students, faculty, staff, and leadership that cares about the students as much as you care about your own children. So we are thrilled to answer any questions, and really pleased to be with you today.
Thank you. And finally, my fellow twin mom, Ann Harradine, who has seniors at John Carroll. Ann? Oh, don't forget to unmute yourself, Ann.
I'm Ann Harradine, and I have a daughter that graduated from John Carroll. She absolutely loved going there, and she's now employed and as a teacher. And then I have twin boys who are seniors this year. They're not very happy because they do play football, so they'll get to play, I think, 5 games this spring. Well, no, starting March. So it's going to be a little chilly to watch football games, but and they are very involved. They one is in the Rupe program, and football's like a full-time job. They do a lot of practice with football and everything. So they both really love John Carroll.
Thank you. Just to get started, it looks like there's a question about participating in immersion programs or study abroad. And I'm looking at your students' bios quickly, trying to see if anybody's kids participated in any of those. It looks like the Turpaks are raising their hand. So you want to comment a little bit about your kids' experience in that? Oh, don't forget to unmute yourself.
There you go. I was trying to type. I'm too slow though.
That's okay.
But Claire studied in Dublin. She was part of the study abroad program in Ireland, and she loved it. It was her junior year, fall of her junior year, and she had a great experience doing that. There was maybe 3 other students from John Carroll that were there at the University College Dublin.
And she gave her an opportunity actually on the weekends and her time off to travel all around all the other countries. She had a phenomenal experience. And I think that helped her grow, become the person that she is, along with everything that she has done at John Carroll and her education has gotten to where she is today. It was, I have to say though, it was one of the hardest things at that airport, giving her a hug, saying goodbye, not seeing her for 6 months, but it was well worth it. Yeah.
Thank you. Are there other questions that came up in the chat? A few of you I know have children in the Arupe program in particular. I know Anne, a couple, I think one of your boys was in the program.
Right, still in it, yeah.
Comment on about that?
Well, he loves it because it's basically students that come together and help with social injustices. And they currently right now are working on a program called Capstone, and the seniors are going to be bringing it onto campus, I think, in the next week or so. But they do all kinds of activities. They do the Fatima 5K run to raise money for families that live nearby maybe not near campus, but in the area, to supply them with food and any kind of other things that they may need. They also go out and they do programs with like the underprivileged, and also they do, what was the other thing he had mentioned? I think that's about it, but he really enjoys it because it's a group of kids that are involved, and they do a lot of activities that help that need, their help. So it's wonderful for the kids to be involved in that.
Thank you. I saw a question come up about the Leadership Scholars Program, so I'm going to give this to Kyle. It's a no-brainer to give it to him. So Kyle, take it away.
So my son is not in that, but I'm the director of that program. So what I will say is we work with the students very closely their freshman and sophomore years, both inside the class and outside of the class. And that's in preparation for them as juniors and seniors to take on leadership roles across campus. So there are several tour guides, RAs, orientation leaders, some of our service leaders who are in the Leadership Scholars Program from pretty much every major across campus. And then their senior year, they also do a capstone project where they are raising funds for one of our partner agencies, the Fatima Family Center. They have a teen leadership program that encourages high school students in the Huff neighborhood to go to college. So our students all band together, as well as all students pursuing the leadership development minor, to provide funds for that much needed program. So our students are kind of all over the board. Like about a third of them are athletes. And like I said, many of them have several leadership positions on campus. So I would biasly say it's been a great experience so far for the students in it.
Oh, yes. Thanks for your help.
Mr. Taylor, I'd like to ask you a question, perhaps. Can you share a little bit about Juliana's journey to choosing John Carroll, and maybe since she's arrived last year and this year, some of the experiences she's had in the classroom and her interactions with faculty members?
Sure. Well, Juliana, she went to the Academy of Sacred Heart here in Bloomfield, and we went to campus. Actually, the head of the school suggested that that would probably be a good fit for Juliana. So, of course, you know how kids are. When someone thinks that's the way they go, they go the opposite way. But we went on campus and took a look around, and we met some people, and she was very impressed with Dr. Lee. And Juliana is going, she would like to be a medical doctor. So the biology department and chemistry department really impressed her. And we got back and she said, this feels very good. This feels like this is a place where I would really enjoy. So I said, well, great. So we looked at a couple other schools and she said, no, John Carroll is where we want to go. So I said, fine. And with me originally being from Toledo, I had no problem because I knew about John Carroll. And so since she's been there, it has been, challenging because it's a new environment. She hadn't been away from home, but the faculty really do a good job in scaffolding. That's the word I like to use. They're there for her, and we know that they want her to succeed. And it's something knowing that an environment is there and they want your child to succeed. And don't just throw them to the wolves. So as of right now, she's done well in chemistry and in biology. She loves Spanish. She's done very well there. She's an RA now. She has friends, and she enjoys going to the cafe, and she checks in a lot. So I really enjoy the interaction that she has with faculty and with her students. And it's just a very good environment. So we're very pleased. Also, before the coronavirus situation hit, she was very, she likes field hockey, and there's not a field hockey team there. So she was actually in the process of developing a club, and whoever was over that environment was very helpful. But then the virus hit, so that kind of did not happen. But again, if the children or if the students, if they want something and they want to pursue it, they're there to encourage them to be successful. And I'll say one more thing, just to toot Juliana's horn. Basically, because of the health environment and the biology and chemistry department, when she came home, when we had to bring her home because of that, my wife, who's a nurse practitioner, was actually doing some of the COVID testing. And Juliana actually volunteered and went down to Detroit and actually assisted everyone in that. And they actually thought she was in med school. And so she was very comfortable in that environment. So I was very proud of Juliana and what she was able to bring to the table there. So that's that.
Thank you. I'm going to ask the Zach since to comment. You know, you just dropped off Deuce 5-6 weeks ago. You're far away. We've got parents on the call that I'm sure are thinking about sending their child further away to school. Talk about what that was like, how you're feeling, how Deuce is doing, and share any helpful advice or maybe what not to do if there was anything that you felt like, oh, we shouldn't have done that. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
She totally wants to answer this question, but I'll start,
Okay.
and then she'll correct me. I do want to start by saying I hope Deuce turns out to be half as good as Juliana when he grows up. But in all seriousness, it is unique because obviously the fall semester being virtual and then transitioning over into the spring, there's still the questions about, you know, how's it going to work? You know, what is the process going to look like? And obviously with the holiday Christmas season spike, you tend to get a little nervous and wonder, you know, is this going to work out after all? And what we found in the fall was when the decision was made to go all virtual, and President Johnson explained to all of the students the process by which they came to that decision, we felt a lot better. Obviously, it wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. And obviously there were universities all over the country that were making decisions. And we felt really good about the thoughtfulness, the process, and the concern for the students in that decision. So when we got to campus, it really was a seamless environment. As I mentioned, a little bit colder than we're used to, but everything from the move-in process to, you know, making sure he got in with his roommate, great roommate. That's one thing I would mention. I saw a question in the chat about how do they select roommates. What I call the John Carroll Tinder for roommates was amazing. You know, his roommate and he, you know, get along really, really well. And he's, you know, starting to meet people. It's obviously a little bit more difficult. He's an introvert by nature. And so we kind of nudge a little bit, which is Mr. Taylor mentioned is probably the wrong thing to do, but he's finding his way. He's actually on a retreat today. So somebody mentioned the retreats. He's doing that. He's registering and taking part in the athletics. And he loves his classes. He did really well in the fall semester. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning, it really is a community where the faculty and the administration, they all kind of team up to make sure that the transition, particularly in this environment, was one that was accommodating. And so from the perspective of being so far away, it is tremendously comforting for us.
Yeah, and Deuce chose to go. We left that very open for him, that he could choose to stay home for another semester, and he really wanted to be on campus. And that's been really helpful for us to leave him there because we knew that he wanted to be there and he wanted to have the experience. And he's really enjoyed it, figuring it out, you know, going to Pizzazz and checking out CVS as the shuttle service has been opening up. And he just told us recently that the faculty and the kids he has met has made it so much easier for him, that when the homesickness has hit, which it has, that because everyone is so friendly and welcoming on campus, that really has helped him kind of manage that. So overall, it's been a really great process, and we just love hearing what he's doing and how he's experiencing it.
Thank you. There was a question about if any of you have students who commute, and I know that is Kyle's son, Zach, is commuting. So Kyle, can you talk a little bit about what Zach's experience has been like so far?
Yeah, so actually we live 30 miles from campus, so it is kind of a commitment for him to commute. What I will say is this semester, 3 or 4 nights a week, he doesn't get home till like 10 or 11 because after his classes, he's hanging out with some of his friends on campus. He has a job in the recreation center. He works with our programming board. So he, I will say, has like jumped with both feet into being an involved student, which has been really helpful for him and his adjustment. Um, I think he joined a fraternity the fall semester, which I think was big for him in terms of getting connected to students. But I don't think it's really bothering him too much. And I know he's still planning on studying abroad. And then as he's an older student, he probably will get an apartment with some of his friends off campus. I just finished a commuter session at 1:30, and what I was telling the students is it's really about saying yes to opportunities. Commuter students are pretty much involved in everything on campus except for the programs that happen in the residence halls. And if they check their emails and they say yes and they kind of jump in, I think they're going to have a really quality experience. We offer about 4 to 5 different social programs a month exclusively for those students who are commuting from family homes. And they can choose how much they want to be involved with those, but they also tend to get very connected to other things on campus.
Thank you. If I could ask the Turpaks maybe to comment, both your older daughters certainly have been successful in getting jobs after graduation. Could you talk a little bit about what their experience was like, either with any internships or preparation with the Career Center, or what their path looked like to getting employment after they graduated from John Carroll?
Yeah, Claire did have an internship with Parker Hannafin her junior year, going into her senior year and throughout her senior year. So she was very busy, doing the classes, the activities, and then also fulfilling her internship at Parker Hannafin.
Her professor, actually, for one of her business classes, works for the company that was, she's working for Syntherma right now, but it was called Nova, which is Cleveland based in Beechwood. And one of her professors is the head of the HR department for there. And just kind of the students in the class kind of let them know about openings that would come about. And so that was really a great opportunity for her, that he kind of, reached out to her and said, hey, I think this might be good for you to do this. So that was great, for her. So that was really an excellent thing. And
but it was also challenging too, because she applied for a couple of positions and she didn't get one, and still hung in there. And Parker didn't have anything open except she had to relocate with them. And then this position did open up, and so she had to take the challenge and move on her own. And she's doing well. So it's.
And I know she also is involved in the right now, where students are involved in recruiting. They're looking for jobs, and she's involved as like a young professional rather, and she's involved with that, with helping out with that and interviewing, helping with interviewing in the Career Center. And I know Maria used the Career Center quite a few times, and really that was instrumental for her as well. And she, just through some like kind of more Cleveland based for Maria, and has really loved it as well. So that's been a great thing. And I know they really respect her background from the Bowler Business School at her employment as well. They really respect that knowledge that she's gained, and know that she's someone that knows what's going on and has been trained well. So that's really served her.
And Maria also had an opportunity for an internship with Highland Software in Westlake, Ohio. And she worked with them for quite a while as well. They didn't have any full-time openings at the time, but she does marketing and supply chain for Olympic Forest Products, which is a pallet company here in Cleveland, and they're throughout all the states. So she's been working all along in this pandemic and just trying to keep the supply chain of things going. So it's been really interesting. She's really put a lot of her education and knowledge to work, for them.
She was able to be a campus recruiter, a student recruiter for Highland as well. That was a great thing that they offered her when she was in her senior year.
Thank you. Just one final question, maybe I'll pose to Anne, perhaps, just because I know Melissa's answering a bunch of questions in the chat that are a little more specific, and I assume that there might be some other parents in the group that maybe have multiples. What was the process like navigating twins or choosing college at once? And do you have any advice to other parents that might be trying to help their kids do the same?
Well, we were okay with them going to separate colleges because they had gone together since, K through 12, but they both fell in love with John Carroll. And we kept saying, are you sure you don't want to go to separate colleges? But we did make them get roommates their freshman year. And they loved it. They got along great with their roommates. But then, of course, as soon as sophomore year came around, they wanted to be roommates because they're best of friends. They really get along well. And but they both have their own separate, groups of friends. They have a lot of friends that are on their sports team, but they also are involved in different activities where they have made new friends. And I will say, they both say they're the nicest people they've ever met. But the students, the teachers, and I'm not just saying that because my daughter says the same thing. She said everyone is just really kind to one another. And another thing I want to point out is I know several alumni that we're good friends with, and they're probably the nicest people I've ever met. They're really just big-hearted and help, society a lot and give up to one another and help everyone out.
Thanks, Ann.
Yeah.
One question came up in the chat that I think is applicable to everybody, and I'm going to ask Sherry maybe to answer this, and it's addressing safety and security around campus and the general neighborhood. So Sherry, can you address that for the group, please?
Oh, sure, I'd be happy to. So I suspect some of you have been on campus, but it's possible because of the pandemic, others of you haven't. Our campus is located in University Heights. So we're probably about 8 miles from downtown Cleveland. So it's a suburb of about 14,000 residents. It's a very, very safe neighborhood. And that's good in many ways. And with our students, though, the challenge is they feel so safe on campus in their residence halls that sometimes they don't lock their doors, or they go to the library and they leave their laptop for hours on end. So this is the double-edged sword to being at a place like John Carroll. We're glad that our students feel safe, but sometimes we really have to talk about, with your personal items, you really want to think about not leaving your laptop for hours on end while you go visit with your friends in another part of the library. But it's a very safe place. Great question.
Thank you. I know time is running short. I know there's some questions that we did not get to. If we have not yet answered your question, if you could please put your email address in the chat. Melissa and I will be downloading the transcript of the chat following this. That way we'll make sure to address questions that we did not get to following this session. I'll also invite the panelists, if you're interested in providing your email to parents, you're welcome to do that and drop it in the chat if you'd like. I'm going to throw up one last slide as a reminder and opportunity. Let me get this here. Oh my goodness. Oh, I can't. Well, we're just going to leave it as it is. So there's a set of next steps here for you as parents. Melissa, I think, is putting this in the chat right now. If you're wondering what is next, this feels a little overwhelming. Here is the link to that website. This walks you through all the next pieces that you need to be thinking about. We also have a Facebook group for parents of admitted students. I know many of you have already joined this group. If you ask to join right now, the people that would approve you are also in this group. So please be patient because we'll approve you soon. But that's also a great place to be able to share information and be able to get information from other parents, talk, share experiences, since you're all going through kind of the same journey together. So I'll bring this slide down just so we can wrap up. I want to thank all of you on behalf of our team here in enrollment and the other faculty and staff at John Carroll who helped us put on this event today, we certainly look forward to welcoming you on campus. I want to remind all of you that we are accepting visitors on campus. And so if you have not had the opportunity to visit campus, we would welcome you. We have all the health and safety protocols in place to do that safely. You can visit campus by signing up on our website. We have lots of opportunities to do that in many different ways moving forward this spring. We also will have lots of focused webinars throughout the spring for your student to learn more about areas like campus ministry, the Center for Service and Social Action, athletics, Greek life, the Center for Student Diversity and Inclusion. So have your student pay attention to their email. Those are going to start happening in March. We know that there's a long road to making that final decision. For those of you that know that John Carroll is the place for your son or daughter, we want you to ring that bell. If you watch the welcome video, we look forward to those photos and videos. And please know that myself and our enrollment team is here to help you every step along the way. We look forward to your continued engagement with us and welcoming you to campus next fall. And with that, we're going to conclude this session, and we look forward to seeing you on campus in the fall and seeing you on campus this spring. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.